Oromo Voice Radio English program. Oromo Voice Radio is broadcasting to Oromia at 16-meter band or 17,850 kilohertz or on oromovoice.org website. OVR broadcasts Oromia Insight program every Monday for 15 minutes at 7:15 p.m. Oromia local time. Welcome to Oromia Insight program.
Welcome to Oromia Insight. My name is Ali Galato. The Ethiopian government declared a state of emergency. A lot of people to respond to that. Today I will present to you one of the articles written by Tsegaye Ararssa. Article by Tsegaye Ararssa, October 10, 2016. Emergency declared in Ethiopia, but the decree means nothing to those who have lived with inhumane worse than death. This morning, Ethiopians wake up to the news that the Council of Ministry of Federal Government has passed an emergency decree that may last for the coming 6 months. The official text of the decree is not yet published in the official legal commentary. The Nagret Gazette, as it has now become customary, it may never be published at all. The regime does what it wants to do nevertheless. That is so declared today is announced to journalists by the Prime Minister in Cabinet on the state television. The Prime Minister spoke in order to announce the decision to journalists as a prime inter phrase, the first among equals in the Cabinet. The reason given by the Prime Minister for the issuing the declaration is that there is breakdown of law and order that threatens the safety of citizens and the integrity of constitutional order. To the people of Ethiopia, especially to those who have been under military rules for the last 1 year and more without any fact that necessity it or any law that warrant it. The decree makes no practical difference in their lives, and as such, the decree has little significance, if any. The people have seen the worst phase of repression: killing, maiming, mass arrest, arbitrary detention, public torture, dispossession, eviction, dislocation, because of loss of house and job, demonstrations, and much worse. They have seen burning of prison alive in Kilinto, Ambo, Gondar, Angrab, Debra, Arbor, Zwai, etc. They have seen towns set on fire and razed down in Konso. They have seen detainee poisoned in Sabata. They have seen massacre on sacred ground in Recha. That was turned virtually into killing field, Ararssa. They have seen children shot dead right in front of their moms in Walaga, in Arsi, in Hararge, and everywhere else. Every day those that are alive have lived under the shadow of death. They have seen the regime mobilizing one group of people against the other and lose loved ones and their means of livelihood as a result. They have seen snipers shoot young people in the marketplace, in a school compound, and in private of their homes. In short, they have seen it all. So, what new things they haven't already seen in this emergency decree going to bring about? The answer given by almost everyone is surrounding nothing. But while we are at it, it is important for us to ask what it means to declare a state of emergency in Ethiopia. What is exactly a state of emergency? When is proper? Who declare emergency? What is the procedure? What is the implication for the right and for the exercise of power by the regime? Why is it declared now? What new things in the regime planning to do under the guise of the emergency decree? In what follow, I expose those questions in light of Ethiopian constitution, although no law, constitution or otherwise, has ever meant anything in Ethiopia. The key provision that regulates the mode, procedure, consequence, and the implication of emergency declaration at Article 93 of the Constitution. What is an emergency declaration and when it is necessary? Emergency decree is a decree of extraordinary situation. It is a law of abnormal times. It is a way of creating legal illegality. In constitution political order, invoking necessary on the ground of actual or impediment war, crisis in a law or order, natural disaster, or breakout of epidemics. It is the regime exception making through which the state is authorized to do what it cannot lawfully do under normal circumstances. Through emergency law, a state is empowered to exercise special powers justified on the ground that the existence of political life has become so terrible that it demands a special set of measures. According to Ethiopian Constitution Article 93, 1A. Emergency declared when there is external invasion. B. A breakdown of law and order that cannot be managed through ordinary law and enforcement mechanism. 3C. Natural disaster. Or D. Epidemic. One can see from above that special measures have to be effected through emergency decree are said to be necessary in time of war, crisis of public order, natural catastrophe, or the spread of contingency disease or plague that threaten the population. According to the announcement of the Prime Minister, the cause of the emergency declaration today is the complete breakdown of law and order which has threatened the constitutional order. This of course concession on his part to fact one can easily observe on the ground since the re-emerging of Oromo protest on 12 November 2015. Throughout the year, Oromia, where military rule imposed, has been completely ungovernable. Konso has also been ungovernable for the last 7 months. After July 2016, when the Amara resistance broke out in Gondar, and the Amara region also became ungovernable by the regime, thereby necessary military rule to be imposed there too. Who issues the declaration of emergency? The necessity of such decree is assessed and acted upon the Council of Ministry, but the COM is not the only institution that has a sole authority on the management of emergency situation. The power to declare emergency is shared between the executive and the legislature. According to Article 932, owing to the urgency associated with emergency, the declaration may be issued unilaterally by the COM, but it should be presented to the Parliament within 48 hours if the Parliament is in session. If the Parliament refuses to approve it, the decree will be dead on arrival. If the Parliament approves it by 2/3 majority vote, it becomes effective for up to 6 months from the date of declaration. If the emergency happens in the season when the Parliament is not session, like in the case now, the decree must be submitted to the Parliament within 15 days. This may necessary calling special or extraordinary meeting of the Parliament. Without approval of the Parliament, no emergency decree can be effective. In other words, emergency power shared between the two institutions, the executive and the legislature. The former has the power to generate the emergency bill, and the latter has the power to approve or reject the decree submitted to it by the former. The how of emergency declaration procedure. The process is activated when the COM decides to have such a decree after the DAL assessing the situation. If exceptional measures are found to be necessary and not preventable through any other measures. Thus, the COM must demonstrate that there is a serious crisis in public order that could not otherwise control through activation of ordinary law enforcement mechanism. Once this is demonstrated, the decree is submitted to the Parliament for approval. On approval by Parliament, it becomes a law of exceptional time. When it's duly approved by the Parliament establishes an emergency inquiry board that supervises the human treatment of all persons arrested in the course of enforcing the emergency, Article 935. The board ensures the accountability of the executive for its measures taken during the emergency season. What does emergency entail? What are the consequences? The declaration of emergency confers special power on the executive. It empowers them to take measures necessary in the proportional to avert the danger. Often the executive is given latitude to suspend some constitutional right as may be necessary to protect public peace and order. The usual candidates are right as such, freedom of assembly, demonstration, movement, etc., which can be suspended for a limited period of time. However, these powers are not open-ended. There is a limit to what the executive can do. In particular, its actions are circumscribed by constitutional provisions that are non-derogable. The provision in relation to the right to life, freedom from torture and all forms of cruel, degrading, and inhuman treatment or punishment, equality, non-discrimination, etc., are often seen as universal, inviolable under any circumstance. This emanates from the principle of sanity of human life, human dignity, and the fundamental equality in words of human beings. In Article 93(4)(3), these non-derogable provisions are 5 articles. 1. The provision that has to do with numerical of the country in the system it donates. Article 18. The provision on the right to freedom from cruel, inhumane, and degrading punishment or treatment such as torture. Article 25. The provision on the right to equality and non-discriminatory. Article 39(1), the provision on the right to self-determination including secession. Article 39.2, the provision of the right to language, culture, history, curiosity, the right to life, under Article 14 and 15, is not the list of rights that cannot be suspended or limited during situation of emergency. Given the weight given to the other structures such as Federal Democratic Republic structure, the name that donate it or to right of nation to self-determination, the absence of right to life, the most fundamental of all human rights in this list must be oversighted. Why now? What motivates the regime to issue this declaration? What is the point of this declaration? What new measures are to be taken other than those merciless measures that were being taken throughout the year? What the rights are to newly suspended or limited because they have been left unviolated thus far. As we all know, the regime has virtually banned all forms of demonstration, political meeting, association, etc. for a long time. We know that there is no press freedom in the country. Ethiopia is one of the top 4 jailers of journalists in the entire world. Arbitrary killing, mass arrest, detention, torture, discrimination have been a matter of routine practice throughout 25 years tenure of the regime, only exacerbated now in the context of open mass revolt in the last couple of years. The regime has always been confrontational with religious groups because it routinely and selflessly interferes with their freedom of religion, demanding the right to self-determination as per constitution automatically render one terrorist because apparently in EPRDF a book a right to self-determination already exercised by all. As a result, identity is scrutinized. It is handled a matter of threat to national security. The right to one distinct language, example the right to choice of script, is routinely violated. A striking example being the regime denial of the right of Oromo people of Tsegaye region to adopt the Latin script for their language. In its total lawlessness, the regime has left no right unviolated, be it bluntly or systematically. It is because of this that in terms of what right is limited or what new power it confers on the executive, this declaration is inconsequential. There is nothing in it change on the ground. The resistance was happening while the full military rule organized by command post chaired by the commander-in-chief himself was already in place in the name of taking a merciless and definitive measure on protesters. The army in its Agazi regiment, the regional special force, the federal police, the state police force, prison officials, and the local militia have all taken ultimate measure on civilians, children, mothers, and the elderly. They have applied the most barbaric method of execution, massacre, torture, abuse. Surely nobody will elude them in this regard. They have practiced abuse that world ghastly torture center in the killing field have witnessed in history. The only question that remains now is why the regime issues this declaration now. What do they want to achieve? There are two possibilities. One, to give retrospective legal cover to atrocity they have been perpetuating so far, and to exclude the more extensive barbaric measures they are preparing to take in last vindictive act just before they vacate the power. And two, to terrorize the public into temporary silence, during which time they will disseminate major infrastructure facility and move to the home base of TPLF's core of the regime. These possibilities are mere speculation, of course, but these are speculations that are hardly without reason, rooted in the conduct, word, and the attitude of the key figures in the regime.